And on November 7th, we'll begin worldwide rollout of Xbox One X, the world's most powerful console at $499.
What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim, back with another video, and today I want to talk to you guys all about the Xbox One X, formerly known as Project Scorpio. Now, you guys have been no stranger to my channel. You know that I got to go to the Xbox Fan Fest. I got to play with this thing firsthand. I was there for the reveal. I got the t-shirt, all that good stuff. And I could tell you that when the announcement came for the Xbox One X, the Galen Center went flat. There was not a lot of applause. Actually, there was no applause. And looking around and looking at people kind of like in that silence disbelief, like, what did we just see? And I went back, you know, I talked a little bit about this when Brent came over and we did the podcast. There's a link in the description box below, so go ahead and check that out. But when we kind of talked about it and talked through what the Xbox One X was, you know, I was kind of leery about it. And after reading all of the interviews that Phil Spencer's done over the past couple weeks, finally getting through everything, he's not even sure you're going to buy it. And he says here, there's a quote, the Xbox One S will be the console that most people will buy. Obviously, we don't know the ratio. When we designed the Xbox One X, it's not that we expected it to become the #1 console for us. The Xbox One S is a great console for the everyday gamer, somebody who's just looking to play games. So he's basically telling you that he doesn't even think you're going to get it. He goes on to say that it's not the console most people will buy. He says that it's only for the true 4K console gamer purists, and that, you know, he's kind of basically saying that it's not going to sell very well initially. Now, I question who this console is really for. If you are an advocate, hardcore, graphics matter more than anything else in the world gamer, you're going to have a gaming PC. Even the Xbox One X, as powerful as it is, does not even come close to what gaming PCs can do. So that crew, you know, like that crowd of gamers, they're not going to suddenly rush to get this. So who is it for then? If you're telling me that, you know, I would be just as happy with an Xbox One S. And by the way, I have the original Xbox. I don't have the S. I just have the OG Forza Limited Edition, the original big VCR Xbox. And it works fine. I don't have any issues with it at all. And I don't see myself upgrading unless the Xbox One X did something amazing. And it really hasn't. I mean, yes, you are going to get true 4K gaming. But for me and for a lot of people who don't have a 4K TV, that is a significant investment to get in the door. And it's very similar to the PlayStation 4 Pro, that I do not have a 4K TV. I do not have an HDR compliant set. So for me to get those cutting edge graphics, I'm going to have to invest in a new TV and then a new console, and then make sure the games that I get support those things. Alternatively, I could go out and buy a gaming computer. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more, but it's going to play every other game I have significantly better than I already have it now, and I'll probably be a little happier with that. Because the Xbox One X doesn't support a higher frame rate on old games, because it requires developers to buy into it. It's not anything Microsoft can like boost mode or overclock that I've seen yet. Now, if this changes, I mean, I will definitely retract what I'm saying. But as of right now, it does not appear to be that way. It's not going to make Destiny 2, for example, run at 60 frames a second, even though it's capable of doing so. It's not going to take Destiny 1 and make it run at 60 frames a second because it's a legacy game. It doesn't work like that. It's just going to basically give you that 4K option if you don't have it. But I feel like, listening to what Phil is saying, you know, there's a problem here. You know, when PlayStation came out and announced their PlayStation 4, and they had that absolutely brilliant marketing campaign where they just, you know, basically drove Don Matrick out of the gaming business. Remember, Don Matrick was the former Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox. You know, they just really went after him with the online connectivity and loading your games and all that kind of stuff. If you remember all that, it was a nightmare. PlayStation dismantled Xbox. They're clearly in the lead. However, the underdog in today's society, the underdog usually always finds a way to rise up. A lot of these companies that you think are down and out suddenly come out with something new and exciting to, you know, turn the tides of the economy. But The Xbox One X is not going to do that. And you're having your president, your leader, basically tell you, hey, we know a lot of people aren't going to buy this. Why'd you do it, Phil? Why couldn't you have invested in something else? Why couldn't you have come up with that next big thing? Because this is not that. You're doubling down on a 4K market that isn't really there yet. And it may be there at one point, but it's not there today. Very similarly, how PlayStation has handled VR. They kind of threw it out there, and it hasn't really done a lot. Yes, I am personally interested in it now. I wasn't before. And there's probably a very small set of people who are VR enthusiasts, but PlayStation 4 Pro wasn't really designed for VR. And in a lot of ways, I could say that the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X, you kind of wonder what they're for, but I've never seen such fanfare. The PlayStation 4 Pro just kind of happened, and it's kind of already gone. I've never seen the fanfare that I saw, and I don't remember Sean Layden or any of the other PlayStation executives, Mark Cerny, coming out and saying, hey, we have a PlayStation 4 Pro, but you probably don't need it. Just get the regular Slim. You'll be happy. So I don't know what messaging Phil's trying to tell us here. I think that's a really bad mistake, and it doesn't really, put a lot of faith for me, who's like, well, should I get it? I mean, I am a huge gamer. I do want to get a 4K TV at some point, with the HDR and all these different like OLED screens and curved screens. There's a lot of new technology out there that I haven't really been exposed to, and I would love to game some of those, play some of those great games on amazing consoles and amazing graphics and that sort of thing. And I'm sure I'll get around to it at some point, but this isn't making me run out and get it today. And I think that's a big mistake. Phil comes off as a very like family friendly kind of guy, like, oh, jolly old Phil Spencer. He's a gamer like us. He moved the Microsoft E3 press conference to be on a Sunday, even though EA actually got theirs out first, which was a joke of a press conference. Phil said it's important to him to be the one to welcome people to E3, to set the stage. He's the only one that openly talks about Sony and Nintendo very openly. And he's like, hey, we know there's competition. And for that, I applaud him because he's a real person. But as the shrill businessman that I think we want him to be, he's not. And when you're coming out and you're telling people that, hey, we got this console, but it is true 4K gaming, but if you don't have it, don't worry. We're going to kind of like lowest common denominator console parity for, poor old Jim, who's still got the original Xbox One X, or the Xbox One rather. His games are going to look great there too. He's just not going to get the 4K bells and whistles, but he doesn't have a 4K TV, so he doesn't care anyway. I just think that's a bad mistake. And it's these mid-generation, this is now both Sony and Microsoft have released these mid-generation, next iteration consoles that aren't truly, the PlayStation 5, the Xbox 2, Xbox, whatever. The next generation, whatever their numbering scheme, which is so screwed up anyway. But this isn't that. This is just kind of like a stopgap. But I feel like they spent a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of hype, and I don't think they're going to necessarily get a lot of return of investment on this. And I could be wrong, but I don't necessarily think so because the price of entry is so high for the common gamer that you're only speaking to less than the 1% of the 1% at this point. And I just think it's a bad mistake. And I'm worried for Microsoft because, they're not going to go bankrupt. Let's face it. I'm recording this on a Windows computer. We all use Word, Office, all that kind of stuff, right? I'm not worried about Microsoft as a company. But their gaming division, since Phil has come on board, yes, he's been a lot more open. Yes, he's relaunched 2 new pieces of hardware. But we're waiting for that other shoe to drop with these amazing first-party games that haven't really come yet. And if he's banking on people buying into the Xbox One X, and they're going to leverage this amazing power off of there, I don't really see it. I ask people who are very interested in it, what is the next move for Microsoft? Where is this going to take us in a year from now, in July 2018? Where are we going to be with the consoles then? Are we going to have PlayStation 5 and Xbox 2 on the horizon? If so, all you people who bought an Xbox One X are going to be pissed, and I don't blame you. Or are we going to be, still where we're at? Are we going to have something that really wows us? Because Crackdown 3 is not that game. there's no major launch games for this thing. I just think it's a bad mistake. And again, with Phil being the leader, we hinge on his words. He has to choose his words very carefully. But, looking back on what he said and how everything went, I think it was very poorly handled. And, us Xbox Fan Fest people on the bus driving back from the conference, the fans of fans, the 500 select chosen few, you are the chosen one. Thus, us guys, the guys who are wearing the Xbox branded shirts, who have basically fanboyed out to Xbox for the entire pre-E3 experience. Those guys weren't even excited about it. And those are your fans of your fans, people who flew like me just to come do this. We're not excited. So I worry about that. And I'm worried that, in a year from now, we're going to be, there's not going to be a major turning point in Xbox where it's like, they're not going to be able to point to a specific thing and say, that's the day they died or anything like that. I don't think that's going to happen, but it doesn't look good. And I know it sounds doom and gloom, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of dislikes and people saying I'm a Sony pony and how dare you talk about precious Xbox. I love Xbox. You saw my last video. It's on Titanfall. I'm playing it on the Xbox One. I love that game. I love Halo, all that good stuff. I don't need to prove that to anybody, but I'm telling you as a fan, long-term, big picture, I think there's some cause for concern here. And I think we really got to take a step back and ask ourselves, what is Xbox One X trying to do? Who is it sold for? And where's it going to lead us when it doesn't work? And I think until we get a good answer on those questions, I think it's safe to say that Microsoft is in big trouble. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. We will see. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Get out there and get yourself a 4K TV. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.